Hello friends! Thanks for joining me again on Chemo's Kitchen. A few days ago, one of my really good friends, Paul, asked me if I could do an episode around cast iron pans and how to treat them and take care of them and season them. And I thought, well, why don't I just expand the episode and talk about all kinds of pots and pans, the different materials that are out there, what you can buy, what you could use them for, and so on. And so that hopefully I could share the best uses of each of those and hopefully that will make things easier a little bit in the kitchen. So without further ado, there's a bunch of different materials out there on the market, right? So you've got cast iron, you've got stainless steel tri-ply, which this is not only stainless steel, but this has got a copper sort of outer layer to it. You've got copper pans, which are actually hard to find these days and are very expensive and very heavy. And you've got non-stick, either ceramic or branded Tefal, which is that black non-stick pans. There's also aluminum, which is what probably our parents and our grandparents used to use. So those are still out there, I think. Probably not as much anymore. The most common ones that you're going to find now are going to be your stainless steel tri-ply. It's going to be your cast iron, and it's going to be some kind of a non-stick pan, right? I think aluminum has been phased out, and aluminum is really horrible to cook with. Not horrible in a bad way, but horrible in that aluminum as a material and as an element is not a very good conductor of heat. Now, why did our parents and grandparents use them? It's because that was the only thing that was available. It was that, and then back in the 80s, Tefal, DuPont came out with Tefal. But pretty much what they used to have back in the day, and I remember this from when I was a kid, was aluminum. Now, it's a horrible conductor of heat. So if you still have aluminum, time to upgrade. You will thank me for it. All right, just get rid of the aluminum pots and pans and go with stainless steel tri-ply. And what tri-ply just means is it's just 3 layers of stainless steel, right? You've got stainless top layer. I think there may be an aluminum layer in the middle, and then another stainless bottom sort of layer. And that's a much better conductor of heat. It will cook much more evenly than aluminum, and it will cook much faster because it's a better conductor of heat, and it will hold the heat better, right? So just get rid of the aluminum stuff if you can, and if you can afford it, and go with stainless steel. Now, stainless steel, you can buy them anywhere, right? You can go to Amazon, you can buy them, you can go to Marshall's, TJ Maxx, all the good stuff. You can go, if you want to go fancy, you can go to Williams-Sonoma and Pottery Barn and get all the really fancy brands. What I do recommend is that you don't cheap out on cheap Asian, Chinese brands that you've never heard of. They might be okay, I don't know. Go with a decent brand that you can recognize, something like a Cuisinart, something like a KitchenAid, if you can afford it, and there are affordable ones out there. You can definitely find sets in all of these stores, or you can just buy individual ones based on your needs. They come in different sizes. Obviously, as you know, I'm not going to sort of go into that in a whole lot of detail, but you can definitely find pretty much something for everybody out there. You will thank me for it, and we will talk about how to use this and how to clean it and how to take care of it. So to use it, the key with using stainless steel is that a lot of times people complain that food sticks to it. The reason why food stick to it is because they usually put the pan on the stove, throw some oil or butter in it, and heat it up. It will stick if you do it that way. If you want it not to stick, what you want to do is get the pan hot first and then throw in the oil and or the butter. Now remember from the oils episode, oils have different smoke points, have different characteristics, and if you use an oil like an extra virgin olive oil, which you should not cook with, remember from that episode, and use that on a hot pan, it will smoke pretty quickly, especially if the pan's really hot. But the basic concept is that if you get the pan hot and you throw some kind of fat in the pan and swirl it around, it will create an immediate non-stick layer. In fact, I can make eggs in a stainless steel pan. I just need to get the pan hot enough, throw the butter in, and I need to make sure that I don't leave the butter in there too long before adding the egg, because the milk solids in the butter will burn, and that's what burns when you get burnt butter, is the milk solids actually burning, not the actual fat, but the milk solids. But I can do it, and I've done it many times before. I choose not to because it's a little bit of a pain sometimes, and I would go non-stick for that, but you can. So get the pan nice and hot, throw in the oil, and just make sure you're using good quality oil that doesn't have a low smoke point like extra virgin. Please don't use that when you're cooking. Use, like I said, clarified butter or light olive oil that's not extra virgin. Fantastic. Or butter, but just make sure that once you throw the butter in, swirl it around pretty quickly to get that non-stick coating, then throw in whatever food you want to cook at that point, because if you leave it in there too long, the milk solids in the butter will burn. Okay? So get it hot. Now, how do you clean it? It's really easy to clean. Just wash it and scrub it. Try to use a non-abrasive sponge like the blue ones. These guys, right? These are non-abrasive. See that? The blue ones, right? Not the yellow and green ones. And then if you've got some markings in the stainless pan at the end of that and you want to sort of, polish it off, what you can use is Barkeeper's Friends, right? This comes in powder form and or liquid form. Just, put it in there and then use your sponge with dish soap and just scrub it down. Make sure the sponge is not abrasive, and it will polish it out beautifully like this, right? So that's how to take care of a stainless steel pan. I use stainless steel for pretty much everything, except making eggs, but I can make them in this. I really only use my non-stick for eggs just because it's just easier and I don't have to really watch the butter. So stainless steel pretty much for everything, right? That's all I have. I don't have any aluminum. I just have stainless steel. Cool. So that's that. Now let's talk about non-stick. So non-stick comes in two forms. The old form, back in the 80s, when DuPont invented this black non-stick layer called Tefal, that's what was available. And that was the big rage back in the 80s. I remember my parents switched from aluminum to all non-stick. In fact, my mom ended up using non-stick for 30 years, the same set of pots and pans for 30 years, to the point where the non-stick coating started flaking. Now, if any of you have seen the movie Dark Waters back in 2019 when it came out, please watch it. So it was a whole documentary around when DuPont invented this non-stick component and used it in cookware. It's supremely dangerous. And it's not dangerous at all temperatures. It's really just dangerous at very high temperatures. So when people use it to fry stuff in it, bad. Because that material, that chemical compound that they use to make that nonstick, when it gets hot enough, it starts releasing carcinogens in your food. And again, we wonder why our cancer rate is so high in this country. It's because of stuff like that, right? So I didn't know that actually until I watched that movie. And as soon as I watched that movie, I didn't have any Tefal nonstick at home. But as soon as I watched that movie, I went over to my parents' house and threw out all their nonstick Tefal, their whole collection. It was just, I just threw it out in the garbage, and I bought them a set of stainless steel stuff. And they said, but wait, what if we want to make eggs or rice or what have you? I make rice in the regular stainless steel sort of pot. No problem. It doesn't stick, right? But eggs, yeah, I do use ceramic nonstick. So Tefal, please get rid of it. It is supremely dangerous if you don't know how to use it correctly. If that coating starts to flake off, you're in real big trouble. So please just get rid of it, right? It is, watch the movie and it will scare you to death, right? Just get rid of it. The alternative now is ceramic nonstick. Much safer, very, very reasonably priced. You can buy them anywhere. Again, Amazon, I bought these from Crate and Barrel, but Amazon, you can buy them at Home Goods, Marshalls, what have you. They're available everywhere. and they make them in pots, pans. It doesn't matter what color ceramic. Some of them are white, some of them are green, some of them are this color. It doesn't matter as long as it's ceramic. That's what you need to use. Okay, so I use my ceramic non-stick for eggs or anything that I really don't want to mess with in terms of sticking. So that's that. Okay, last but not least, we have cast iron. Cast iron is fantastic. In fact, Southerners swear by cast iron, and they cook everything in cast iron. So I use cast iron quite a bit. I use cast iron to saute, I use cast iron to cook in, I use cast iron to really, you could use it just like any other pan, right? If you don't have anything and you just want to keep cast iron at home, fine. It'll serve you great. The advantages of using cast iron, one disadvantage is that it's heavy, right? Two, it's a little harder to clean, and I'll explain how to clean and how to treat it. But the advantages is that cast iron is a remarkable conductor of heat. It's the best conductor of heat. And when it gets hot, it stays hot, right? So it retains its heat really, really well. It's also, by nature of how it's treated, it's already non-stick. So you can make eggs in this, no problem. You can make rice in this, no problem, without it sticking, right? But again, heat it up to a decent temperature and then throw in the oil or butter or what have you and use it to cook with. It is phenomenal. In fact, not only is it phenomenal, I actually cook my steaks on the grill, not on an open flame, in a cast iron sort of rectangular, grill pan. Because I like searing it that way. I don't really care for grill marks, and I don't want to have to deal with flare-ups. I like searing it that way. It's a nice sear, and then it cooks in its own sort of fat. When the fat renders, it just sits there and just starts to cook in its own fat, and it's just lovely. So I'm a huge fan of cast iron. Now, how do you take care of cast iron? How do you wash cast iron? When you're done, what do you do with it? Right. So once you're done, there's a couple different ways. The best real way to sort of clean out your cast iron pan is to use coarse salt. Just pour it in. And then take a brush and just kind of brush, the pan with the coarse salt. It will sort of remove all the gooey, sort of burnt deposits that are on the surface, right? And it'll just clear it out. If you don't want to use salt, you can totally, just use dish soap and water. Just don't use a very abrasive sponge. Just use the blue sponges like I showed you, right? Or you can use that soft silk, sponges that you can buy anywhere. You can do that because it's the soft one is not very abrasive, so you can definitely do that. Just be careful that you're not really kind of shedding a layer of the treatment that's on the cast iron. Do not, and I will have a heart attack if I see this. In fact, I've had them a couple of times when I've seen my friends do this. Do not leave cast iron soaking in water. Okay? Just don't, right? Don't do it. So once you've got it sort of cleaned out, dry it very, very well. Don't let it air dry. Immediately dry it. And then take some, it doesn't matter. Take some olive oil, take some, whatever oil you have, and just put a few drops of oil in the pan. Take, paper towel and just kind of swirl it around and give it a nice coat. And that's all you need to do. And then what you're going to result is this, right? It's nice and clean, it's smooth, but definitely after every use, make sure it's clean, make sure it's smooth, and then put a layer of oil in it. Not too thick of a layer of oil, but just a little bit, just so you can kind of get a little bit of a thin layer on it, and just kind of, spread it around, and just leave it like that and store it. That's it. That's all you have to do. So that's really how you take care of a cast iron pan. Now, if you're finding that after you use your cast iron too much and sort of the non-stick layer is starting to fade a little bit, you can re-season the pan. And to re-season the pan, get your oven to 450, right? Put a nice thick layer of oil in it and sort of, even it out, spread it around, and throw it in the oven. until, and I don't know for how long, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, an hour, maybe an hour. Throw it in for an hour and let that layer basically bake into it. Take it back out again, rinse and repeat the process, not rinse, but just repeat the process maybe 3 or 4 times. And with every layer of oil that you put in there and that you bake in the oven, it will create a layer, right? And so we'll just keep adding layers on top. And that's really how, if you really strip down a cast iron pan and you get it down to its pure iron, that's how they season these and get them like this, right? It's just layer on layer on layer on layer of basically baked oil at high temperature. And that's it. It's really simple. Do not soak these, right? Just use salt or use a little bit of soap and a non-abrasive sponge. And then once you do that, clean it, dry it really well. Thin layer of oil, spread it around, store. That's your cast iron. Ceramic non-stick, not Tefal, for any of your non-stick cooking. And then a set of nice stainless steel pots and pans. The stainless steel pots and pans will be your go-to for pretty much everything. I only have really 2 of these, a 10-inch and a smaller 8-inch, just for cooking eggs. That's it. That's all I have in terms of non-stick. And then I've got a couple of different sizes of the cast iron, just based on what I'm trying to do. But I definitely have a full set of pots and pans in stainless steel because that's my go-to. I hope you found this informative and watch that movie, Dark Waters, 2019, Mark Ruffalo. It's a great documentary. And I hope that this lends a little bit of help. If you have any questions on how to, any further questions on how to use cast iron or stainless steel, or you're encountering an issue and have you, just drop me a note. Drop me a comment, I'll respond. And happy cooking.